Okay, welcome back to the channel. This video is a little bit about my history and how at the age of 49, I kind of discovered that I had ADHD. So going back to 2022 is when I really started noticing the symptoms coming through. Before that, the symptoms were there when I look at them in hindsight, but they weren't obvious to people. They weren't being picked up, including myself. Post 2022, the symptoms have got a lot worse. Now, this has been linked to long COVID, which I'll come on to shortly. Now, in 2022, I started to suffer from fatigue, constant tiredness, lethargic, not able to focus and concentrate, forgetfulness. So, brain fog was a big, big problem to me. Remembering people's names who I've just met, remembering things from meetings that have just happened. So, it started to really concern me. And I did look initially at the onset of early age dementia because both my grandparents, my nans, both had it and sadly passed away with dementia. So I started to look down that route initially. So I went to my GP and I explained to them the symptoms I was having. And I was told, well, you didn't have it at school. It's definitely not dementia, by the way, because they did a dementia test. It's not that. But ADHD, you didn't have the symptoms at school, therefore you can't have it as an adult. Now, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when the ADHD was not a thing. We weren't diagnosing people like we are today. We didn't have the knowledge or the experience of what we have now. So I went through my childhood probably having this condition under the surface, but was masking it quite well. Now, I wasn't a disruptive student and completely the opposite. I was the student who was at the front row with the class. I was the one that wanted that information from the teachers. I was the one that was studying and studying different subjects, but my grades weren't brilliant. They were passable. I finished with 10 GCSEs, which is the most we could have. But my grades weren't fantastic. Now, the grades that were the best were things like the sciences, the dramas, the woodworking, things that had a practical element to me. And so the signs were there at an early age, but they were just not picked up on by anybody really. So fast forward, I went into I started a new job in 2022 and I started straight away to see the signs coming through. Like I say, is a new environment, as having to learn new things. And I thought, oh, it's the stress of moving jobs. Now, the company I'm with at the moment, I have to say, are absolutely amazing when it comes to ADHD, dyslexia, um, disabilities in general, all the neurodiversities. They are amazing at that work, and I do work very closely with the networks now. And I'm an open book. I'm an advocate for neurodiversity, especially ADHD and dyslexia, for my conditions, in the hope that other people that I teach and train and have meetings with will actually possibly help them. And I've had a lot of conversations with them over the past two and a bit years of this is how I am, but you may have similar traits as well. And that I think has helped people come to an understanding of how I perform, but actually how they perform themselves. And a few people have gone on and done other screener tests and have come back and said, I never knew that was part of the ADHD uh, diagnosis, or I never knew that was part of the dyslexia diagnosis. And then they've gone on to get extra support. So I'm an open book. Anyway, we need to get rid of that stigma. We need to get rid of that stigma in society that if you've got ADHD or dyslexia, you're thick, you're stupid, you can't do jobs, don't trust them to do a job properly. Yeah, we need to get rid of it and just prove to people that actually we are high achievers. We really are high achievers, but in a different way to those that are more academic. So, fast forward 2022, started my new job, started to struggle a little bit. Going into 2023, a friend of mine suggested that I went to speak to my GP about issues I was having. I'd just finished a master's degree, and it became apparent that I was struggling to remember text from a book to put into my documents. I was virtually having to read it and copy it word for word. I couldn't remember a sentence and copy it. I could create it verbatim, I could put my spin on it, but I couldn't copy it precisely. So they said, go and speak to your GP, first port you call. It could be dyslexia that you've got. I haven't got dyslexia. Can read, I can write. I've got GCSEs. I've got BTECs. I've got HNCs. Got MVQs. I've got professional and I've got a master's. Nah, not me. Anyway, went to speak to my GP. And at the same time, I spoke to our HR at work, and they said, "Well, we'll fast track you. We'll put you on to one of our health partners and let them have a look as well." So anyway, that came through. I did a screener test. I did what I would call a SATs test, very similar to what I did at primary school. Results were inconclusive. So the results were conclusive. I definitely had dyslexia, which explains a lot of how I approach projects and tasks and the information that I need to have prior to starting to now enable me to do that work. So that was a definite given. So then a friend of mine said, "Well, actually, you know what? You've got traits of ADHD." I was like, "No, I'm not. I haven't got ADHD. I'm not disruptive. I'm not a nuisance. I don't crave attention. Far from it. No, no. Go and speak to them again." So spoke to my GP. My GP said, "Oh, if you didn't have it as a child, you can't have it now." It wasn't a thing in the 80s, 70s when I was growing up, so it wasn't diagnosed, it wasn't recognized, so it went undetected by me and everybody else around me. So I thought about it and I said, "No, I'm not happy with that." GP was a phone consultation and I could hear him doing other things in the background as well, so he wasn't giving me his 100% attention. So I phoned the GP again and said, "Look, I want another GP. I want a second opinion on this, and I want it face to face." So I went to see the GP. She was brilliant. She understood it, and said, "Part of your symptoms could be down to long COVID. So we'll refer you to the COVID clinic." So I went across to this COVID clinic, physio COVID clinic. The woman there, again, was brilliant. She suffers from dyslexia and ADHD herself and saw the signs in me immediately and said, "You need to speak to your GP. You've got ADHD. We can help you with the pacing, the fatigue part, controlling your work throughout the day so that you don't get burnt out. But we can't help you with the ADHD here. You need to speak to your GP." So back to the GP I go, explained everything that was going on, and I was told, "Right, okay, we'll send you some forms to fill out." Sent me the forms, filled them out, sent them back. Got referred to Psychiatry UK in about, I think about August this year, 2025, and then had a appointment via Teams in beginning of November 2025, and that is where I've been formally diagnosed with it. It was quite quick, if I'm being honest, compared to what I've heard stories from other people, but it was also quite tedious in the fact that it was a lot of toing and froing and a lot of disbelief as well. I had to go through my childhood, I had to tell them things that had happened and examples, and it I found myself masking during the interview. I actually found myself purposely going, "No, don't say that because that makes you sound stupid," or "Don't say that because that's not what normal people would say," or "That's what normal people would do." And I consciously sort of like realized I'm lying here. I'm covering up for my conditions. So I basically went back on it and said to, during the interview, I said, "Look, I'm masking. I know I'm masking. I've just come to realize I'm masking. This is what really happened. This is what I really said. This is what I really did." And kind of went over some of those questions. And then the psychiatrist, Psychology UK, came back and said, "Yeah, actually, all the evidence points to you have moderate to high levels of ADHD, and I'm waiting on titration now to start. So I'm waiting for them to message me to say that I can start medication because it's something I want to try. I'm not saying I'm going to stay on it. It's got to be a permanent thing, but I do want to try it because I don't know what it's going to do. I want something that's going to help me focus, something that's going to stop me from bouncing between tasks all the time, something that is going to maybe stop me from huffing and puffing when people are trying to explain something to me and they're just taking forever because I already know the answer or I already know what they're going to say. Because let's face it, that's one of the biggest things that winds me up is people taking too long to explain. And yet, as an ADHD, we over explain. We will do the same thing because we just don't think we're getting the message across. But that's a topic for another video, I think. So, waiting on titration. I'll let you know when I start that, and I'm going to do a vlog of how that's affecting me and how I'm going on. But I just wanted to do a quick video of my childhood and how ADHD has affected me growing up and how I've masked it for pretty much most of my life. Um, you know, fake it till you make it syndrome or imposter syndrome has definitely been there. Um, Things like I've come to realize that if a manager or my line manager or somebody says, "Have you got 5 minutes for a chat later on this afternoon?" Straight away, my anxiety levels go through the roof. Straight away, I'm already imagining in my head, I've done something wrong, I've not done something, I've forgotten something, somebody's put a complaint in, I'm going to lose my job. It just blows out of proportion. And that is an ADHD trait, I'm afraid. And it's something that I've only realized after speaking to others in the last month or so that that is why I do that. So now I am trying to communicate to my line manager and others who are very receptive that when you ask somebody a question like, have you got 5 minutes later, put a bit of context around it. If you are putting an invite in the diary, put a little bit of detail about what the meeting's about. Don't just put a meeting in and just expect me to turn up without all that baggage that comes with it. Plus, sometimes I might need to prepare. I might need to get information because it's not up here. I need to try and find it, so I've got it ready for when we have the meeting. So this is all about reasonable adjustments in the workplace, and it's something that people neurotypicals probably don't even realize that this is happening to us, but it does. Soon as somebody says, "You've got have you got 5 minutes for a meeting later?" Straight away, I'm on edge, and worst case scenarios are whizzing through my head. There is nothing I can do about it. It just happens. So there are things that I am now working with to try and alleviate them, such as ask people to put what's in the meeting agenda ahead of time, but also have a note so that when somebody does say something like that or do get an invite and there's nothing there, I can reference that list and that list will say things like, "You've done nothing wrong since you've been here. Nobody's complained about you so far. You're doing a fantastic job and you get recognized for doing so." And things like that to try and calm me down a little bit. But it is one of those conditions with ADHD. So anyway, just a little bit of an update as to my background, my history, how I came through realizing I've got ADHD um, in 2025 at the age of 49. But I will do another video a little bit more about the causes or what's made the symptoms worse, which is long COVID. So keep an eye open for that. Please like and subscribe if you find this information useful. It will help me grow the channel and help me do more videos because I actually feel like people are watching them and will entice me to do more. And if you've got any sort of coping mechanisms, or if you can relate to anything that I've just said, please leave a comment below. We're a community, we're a network. We all need that support from others. So I will see you on the next video.